trying it again. Hi guys. It seems that Facebook has a mind of its own. I hope that everybody is having a good day today so far. I'm gonna give Facebook just a second. There we go. It's working this time. Sometimes it gives me the countdown, sometimes it doesn't. So this time it gave me the countdown. I'm just gonna assume that we have people in the house. We do. Hi Donna. Good to see you. I hope that you guys have had a great weekend. Second time I've said all of this, but you probably didn't see it the first time. Kristen says, I'm the first one. Yay! So good to see you. So good to see you. Hi, Nicole. Hi, Stacia. Hi, Kathy. Kathy, are you still knitting? Are you still knitting, my friend? There's Gail, Anita. So happy to see everybody. Hi, Miss Jessica. How are you? Hi, Beverly. You guys, I just ate lunch. My stomach is growling. Like, what? Really? If you hear it, I apologize. I'm starving, apparently. Oh my gosh, it's Tuesday. It is Tuesday, which means we have not seen each other since Friday. It's been a minute. I've missed your faces. I hope you guys had a great weekend. I hope that you had a good Monday. I had a really productive Monday, I am happy to say. Oh, she's sewing. My bad. She's sewing, not knitting. So I had a really productive day yesterday, getting a jump on the week. You guys, it's going to be a great one. It's going to be a great week. A lot of things to talk about. So let's do that. Let's chat, shall we? So today I've got a great wire wrapped earring project for you guys. This is actually a throwback. We've done this before, but I get asked about this one every time I wear these earrings because these are one of my all-time favorite pair of earrings that I have ever made. So we're going to recreate these with different colors. And it's a good one. It's an easy one. I hope that you guys will enjoy the project. It's not super hard, and it also can be altered because these are a little bit big. So you can alter these and make them smaller for those of you who don't like huge earrings, or you can turn it into a pendant, which is also really fun. So that's what we've got going on today. And then of course, tonight, the Hardwired group, we will be getting together and, well, at 4 p.m. That's not necessarily nighttime, but later this afternoon, we'll be getting together for our project of the week. Speaking of the Hardwired group, if you are not a part of the Hardwired group and you would like to be, open enrollment is going to start for that next week. So you'll have a little window of opportunity to sign up and be part of the Hardwired group if you want to be. I'll give you more information about that when we get closer to that. So that'll be next week. Just mark your reminders, okay? Let's see, what else? On Thursday, well, let's back up just a second. Tomorrow, I have a Michael's class at 2 p.m., just so that everybody knows. We are doing a faux stack bracelet, and though I have used a button for the clasp on this bracelet, you could use something a little bit different and turn this into men's jewelry, which I have a hard time doing. I'm not very good at men's jewelry, so if you're interested, this is definitely a unisex bracelet. I feel like the button makes it a little bit more feminine, but if you change the button up for something else, it could definitely be a guy-friendly piece of jewelry. So if you've not signed up for that and you want to, feel free to go over to the Michael's class, or the information for the event is posted inside the group. So that's tomorrow. On Thursday, we have our regular scheduled live at 1 p.m. with Sam from Sam's Bead Shop. We're going to be checking out all of the beads that are, Nicole, you can go ahead and drop a link now if you want to, but everybody just needs to know. So Nicole asked, should she drop a link for the Hardwired? You can go ahead and send your request to be a part of that group, but it won't open and we won't be sending out invoices until next week sometime. But if you want to go ahead and you can, totally okay. So Sam will be here on Thursday, and we are going to be taking a look at the May bead shipment from Sam, taking a look at that. And you guys, Sam and I have been in chats about me possibly teaching a class or two for him on Saturdays coming up in the future. So that is something to be looking forward to as well. He's going to be here. We're going to take a look at all of the beads. It's always fun to have Sam in the house. And then we are going to put together a fun little earrings project, just something quick, because we spend a lot of time going through the beads and oohing and ahhing over their goodness. But I did want to do a quick little project. On Friday, it will be Feel Good Friday. Once again, I'll have new kits in the shop. And that leads me to our last little bit of housekeeping information for you. So, Speaking of the shop, Nicole, you might want to drop a link for this one as well. Over in the Etsy shop, number 1, today's earrings are already posted. For anybody who is looking to grab those up, there's a pair of those in the shop. Second, I've got 2 artistic wire mandrel tools in the shop. If you are interested and you would like to have an artistic wire mandrel tool and you do not have one, I've got 2 of these listed over in my Etsy shop for you to grab. There are also some odds and ends there. Just a couple of things that I've posted. There are some bead mixes that are there where I've been cleaning out and kind of going through things. So there are some glass bead mixes, an acrylic bead mix, just some things to check out. There's some leftover bohos that I found that are over in the Etsy shop as well. That being said, I have an entire little bucket. It's not a huge bucket, but it's about this big. And it's full of things that are going to be going into the Etsy shop over the next few days. And it is not kits, because kits come out on Fridays. But in the meantime, it will be a couple of finished pieces of jewelry. And then some findings. There will be, you know, things that you might like to have to add to your own stash. So just know that the Etsy shop is always being updated, particularly right now, because I've got a lot of things that I need to move into the shop that I'm trying to get rid of. So if you are interested in grabbing some findings, just some little odds and ends for your jewelry making, maybe a, you know, a strand of beads or whatever, it's there. And if you will sign up for, I don't remember how Etsy works, but I think that it's, if you like the shop, you'll get notifications, I think. So when I upload new things, you can be one of the first people to grab it. I know that there are some people out there. Karen is one of them. Karen, as soon as I listed a thing of beads, she scooped them up in like, it was like less than 5 minutes. So yeah, just so you know, you got to be fast with some of the things I put in the Etsy shop. Okay. All right, so now that I've taken care of all the housekeeping and all the trolls have plenty of ammunition to be mean to me over on YouTube later. Some of you on YouTube are glorious. Some of you are mean and terrible, horrible people. And I'm sorry for you. I'm sorry for you. But yeah, let's get started with the earrings project because this is going to work up pretty quickly, okay? All right, let's turn ourselves around. Hey, Kendall. All right, guys, so let's get started, shall we? Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. That's what we do. We talk a lot here. So these are the earrings. Let me adjust just a little bit. Excuse my shadow while I try to, not just my shadow, but my arm, apparently. There we go. Oh, nope. Still dropping down on me. There. All right. So these are the earrings that we're going to be creating. And the ones that I have on are a different colorway, but these are the ones that we are creating today. Sharon says, I love you on YouTube. I love you on YouTube too. I love my YouTube community. It's just the trolls that come through that are just horrible. So these are the ones that we're going to be creating today. I love this color, this kind of minty turquoisey color. It's really good for spring and summer. It's very aquatic, if you will, kind of mermaidy. And the chevron chain kind of reminds me of mermaid tails or fish tails as well. So I'm getting all around kind of mermaid vibes from these. However, I realize this is a huge earring and I'm going to make it a huge earring because it's easier for you to see and because I just love big earrings. However, if you're feeling like this is way too big for you, you certainly can make this a bit smaller, okay? You just need to make your teardrop portion a little bit smaller, and you can do that very easily with the Artistic Wire Mandrel tool. So we're actually going to be using the largest circle portion of our tool, but to make a smaller teardrop, you just want to come up here a little bit closer to the top of the tool to make a smaller earring component, right? So you can very easily adjust what we're doing here. If you're going to make a smaller teardrop though, I do recommend that you go down a size in your Czech glass beads. So for this project, I used 4mm Czech glass rounds. I would suggest if you're going to go a little bit smaller on the mandrel to make a smaller teardrop that you go down to 3mm Czech glass beads, okay? Just because they do kind of overpower a smaller teardrop because they are a little bit bigger. So just keep that in mind. Yeah. Endless possibilities. I agree. And then somebody said the trolls need to stay under the bridge. I agree with all of these statements. Okay, now if you're thinking that you want to turn this into a pendant instead of a pair of earrings, I would also maybe recommend doing more than one piece of chain or putting a tassel on here instead. Like, you really can. There are tons of possibilities with this, and you're going to see this is going to work up really quickly, so it's not a hard project to do. Can you use seed beads? Yes, you can. In fact, if you're going to go even smaller with your teardrop, seed beads would be a great bead to do on the outer edge. You can use any kind of beads that you want to, but for smaller, definitely go with the seed beads. That'll be super cool. All right. Let's see. There was a question trying to order German style wire, suggestions for the best place to order. Colleen says, I usually find a really good selection of Beadalon on Amazon. The 4th pound spools are amazing. That's what I order, is the 4th pound spools. Let me show you what they look like. It's a big guy, but it's got plenty of wire, and these last me for me, they don't last nearly as long as they'll last a regular person because, you know, I teach so many projects. But for just your average person, 1/4 of a pound of your German style wire is going to last you a really long time. Okay. And as far as the cost effectiveness, I really feel like this is the best bargain because I tend to buy a ton of the smaller packages and use them up really, really quickly. This is one of the small blister packs. So there you go. Okay. So speaking of wire, let's get started with what our earring needs. So we've got to have a piece of 18 gauge 18 gauge German style wire for this. And you're going to need about 5 inches unless you're going to make a smaller component. Okay. But 5 inches is going to give you the exact size for what we are creating today. I didn't add this in the materials list because not everybody has these. I'm going to use the small bell making pliers. I'm going to use the small mandrel of those to make a loop on each end. If you don't have these, that's okay. You can use your round nose pliers. I would just use probably the largest part of the round nose pliers. Sorry, I didn't mean to hit you while I was grabbing my tools, guys. I would use the largest part of the taper back here to create your loop. So with our 5-inch piece of our 18 gauge German style wire, I'm going to take the very end in my small bell making pliers and I'm just going to turn a loop, which is really not going to be anything other than just like a pea shape. Okay. And we're going to leave it off center like that. We don't need to break its neck or anything like that. We want to leave it just like it is. And then we want to repeat that down here on the other end. So we're going to grab with our small bell making pliers and we are going to roll to create a matching loop. So now we've got loops on either end of our wire. Okay. Now, want to be sure that our wire is nice and straight. It will make life easier if it is nice and straight. If it's got any kinks or bends in it, I definitely recommend coming in with your nylon jaw pliers and just going over it once or twice just to kind of straighten out any kind of problems that you may have with it. Okay. Now what we're going to do is we're going to create our teardrop shape. It's really important that you go ahead and do the loops first before you do the teardrop part, because if you do it the opposite direction, you do the teardrop first and then the loops, it'll pull your teardrop shape out. Okay. So just keep that in mind. So I'm going to place my wire on the largest section of the round mandrel. Okay. Put my finger right over that. And then I'm just going to guide the wire around, okay, just like so. Now, I'm going to give it a squeeze and I'm going to kind of over bend a little bit and then I'm going to slide it off. And this is what we've got. Now, what you may notice is that your loops are facing the wrong direction. Maybe one's facing one way, one's facing another way. We want to grab these with a pair of pliers and we want to just very gently turn them so that they are facing outwards. Okay. So you see, I just grab a hold of it with my pliers and then just give it a little turn. Okay. And then again, kind of over bend. That's really going to deepen that teardrop shape for you. Okay. All right. Now, because it's 18 gauge wire and it is not super, let's see, hold on. Kendall says, will my ring mandrel work? I'm thinking it will. For your loops, yeah, it absolutely will. All right, so because this is not super thick gauge wire, I'm going to put this on my steel block, and I do need to work harden a little bit. I've got to tighten up my tripod. You guys are gonna fall down on my block here. All right, so I'm gonna use my steel block and my nylon hammer. If you've got a rubber hammer or a rawhide mallet, any of those will work. Hi, Carmen. Okay, I'm going to do both sides. Make sure you do both sides, okay? Okay, and then you just want to check on it. It's not going to be super, super tight, but you want it to be, you know, hardened enough that it's not going to come out of that shape that you've created. Okay. Now, we want to do the wire wrapping part with our beads, okay? So every time I lay these down, they get a little silly. So the next step is going to be to add our Czech glass beads to this. So we are going to take about an 18 to 20%, what? 20 inch piece of 24 gauge wire, and we're going to anchor it to our component, and then we are going to add our beads in groups of 3. And we're going to make these little arches all the way around, okay? So let me go ahead and drop my beads down here so that I can get to them. Okay, and our piece of 24 gauge wire. Now I'm using 24 gauge German style wire for this, and I actually anchor to the left and then flip it over. You'll see what I mean in just a second. So you don't have to do it this way, but this is just how I end up anchoring my wire. So I'm actually, depending on which direction the iPad makes this is my left over here and this is my right. It might be opposite for you all. But I'm going to lay my wire, my 24 gauge wire, right across on the left side of my component here. Give myself a little bit of a tail. It doesn't take much. Might be a little bit too much, actually. Give yourself about an inch and a half, okay? And we are going to wrap that tail around. I'm going to wrap it around about 3 times, okay? So it's nice and anchored, and take my pliers, kind of squeeze that together. Now I'm actually going to flip it over so that now this is over here on the right instead of on the left. And we're going to ring the bell a bunch today. I just have a feeling as my light is really, really close. Okay, so now it's over here on the right-hand side. We're going to go from right to left. For whatever reason, it's just easier for me to anchor on the left. Wanda says, are you still a Beadalon rep? Well, so I'm not a Beadalon representative. I'm a Beadalon design team member, which is a little bit different, believe it or not. I don't actually have an affiliate link for them because they compensate me in other ways. So unfortunately, I don't have a link for that. I'm sorry. I wish I did. But they take care of me in other ways. So I definitely recommend going to the Beadalon website to do your ordering. Just know that they are on, they're a little bit behind on shipping at the moment. So just keep that in mind. And if you can't find what you're looking for, if they're out of stock, I definitely go to Amazon to get my Beadalon stuff. Kendall says she just got her Beadalon catalog and has a list going, right? I know. Okay, so our wire is anchored and we're ready to go. Our long working end of the wire is coming out this direction. We're going to take the tail of that wire and we're going to pick up 3 of our little Czech glass beads. Now you can use whatever beads you want to here, and you can pick up more than 3, less than 3. You can do whatever you want to. But for my little kind of picot edge, hi Catherine, for my picot edge, I'm going to pick up 3. Okay, drop those down, and then you kind of have to guide the wire to make that shape. It's not going to necessarily make it that shape all on its own, so you kind of have to guide it into that little curve. Something else that I want you to keep in mind is the wire is coming from the back around the front, right? And now the natural path of the wire is to go behind the component. So we were going in front of the component, and now we're going behind. That's the natural path of the wire. Don't try to do both of them on the front. You see what I mean? Don't wrap 2 wraps on the front. One of those wraps needs to go behind. Does that make sense? You just don't want to mess up what the wire is already doing as far as the wrapping. Pretend like you don't have beads on it. All right, now I'm going to hold those beads in place, and I'm going to wire wrap around my component about 3 times, and that's going to lock those beads right in place. Okay, so 3 times all the way around. When I come back up for this 4th wrap, that's when I'm going to add 3 more beads. Okay. Hey, if you've got your Beadalon catalog, you might want to flip through it and look at who some of the designs. I can't remember, but I'm pretty sure that this past catalog update's got some of my designs. They always have the Beadalon designers' designs in it, but I was on the cover for the last catalog. I'm not on the cover this time, but my designs are inside. You can see some of them. So 3 more. Make that little arch shape if you want, or not if you want, but if you're going to make these like this, if you're doing 1 bead at a time, it's certainly not going to look this way. Make your little rainbow arch, and then you want to wire wrap about 3 times. And when you come up for that 4th wrap, that's when you're going to add your beads. Okay, now why 3 wraps? The reason is it's going to create just enough space between the last bead and the first bead, right? So the last bead of this arch and the first bead of this arch. So you got to do the wraps in between there. Otherwise, those 2 beads are going to crowd each other out and it's going to look like a mess. So make sure you give yourself at least 3 wraps in between there. Okay. You can do more if you want to. It just kind of becomes decorative at that point, but the 3 is important for your spacing. All right. Uh-oh. One of my beads didn't come all the way down. So 3 more beads. Hi, Terry. Okay. I'm going to guide them into that arch shape. Take the wire to the back of the component and wrap around 3 times. And you see how my component has come undone? You know, as far as like the shape is concerned, we can still fix all of that. So don't get too totally bent out of shape if your teardrop becomes more of a U. You just want to squeeze it back together. It'll be just fine. And once we get everything attached, once we have our jump rings and everything, and once we have all of our beads, it really will stay in shape, okay? So don't freak out if it becomes a U, because you're going to be able to shape it right back. All right, 3 more beads. Drop those 3 beads down. Okay. Guide them into the little arch shape. And wire wrap 3 times. Okay, we're coming up for the 4th. That's where we're going to add some beads. Now, I want this next little section of beads to actually be in the center of our teardrop, but it's not. You can see if I add my beads now, they're going to be off to the right just a little bit. So what I'm going to do is I am very gently going to kind of readjust all of my beads by squeezing them just a little bit closer together. And that's going to take my wire wraps back over here. So now this wire wrap will be directly in the center. So these 3 beads that I am about to put on will be right in the center of the bottom of our teardrop. And it only took just a little bit of coaxing to move those beads. You don't have to make major motions or movements, right? It was just a little scooting, if you will. Okay, so guiding those into a nice little arch shape. And wire wrap 3 times, up for the 4th, and we're going to add our beads. So now we're ready to go down this side, and we're almost done. It doesn't take long to add these beads to this. And the cool thing is that this little wire wrap that we're doing is fairly simple. Adding the beads and just turning the little shape into a little arch. You can actually do this to pre-made components. You can do this to any other shaped components that you want to. Doesn't just have to be this, right? Okay, guide those beads into that little shape and wire wrap 3 times. When we come up for the 4th, we're ready to add 3. Okay, there's our 3 beads. Just going to give them a little bend. 1, 2, 3, up for 4. Oh, how dare they interrupt us with a phone call? It's funny. That's kind of the way I felt this morning. I feel that way about my coffee. Like, does anybody else feel this way? It's probably just because I'm not much of a morning person at all, and I love my mom, okay? This is not against my mom at all, but mom called this morning as I was making my coffee. Like, I hadn't even had my coffee yet. And she proceeded to talk to me the entire time that I drank my coffee. And I was so immersed in our conversation that I did not get to enjoy the coffee. It was like before I knew it, the coffee was gone. And I was like, dang it, I missed my morning coffee. Even though I had it, right? But that's still the way I felt about it. Like, I missed can I get a redo on that? I just need those 20 minutes of alone time with my coffee in the morning before I'm ready to do all the peopling. All right, so this is our last little arch. Now, I don't know if you noticed while I was talking about my coffee, I did kind of squeeze and scoot these beads around so that I've got enough room here to make my 3 wire wraps. So again, you definitely can kind of wiggle those around to make the space that you need. Okay, so I'm coming in, doing my wire wrap. Okay, now we've added all of our beads here. And if you need to readjust the spacing, give them a little squeeze. Just make gentle movements. Yes, coffee first, peopling after. Always. I was happy to talk to mom this morning, but I did miss my coffee. All right, I'm going to trim off my tails here, okay? And I have a little extra wire, probably more than what you're going to have. You only needed about 18 inches to create your wire wraps around your component. I'm going to squeeze those together with my pliers just to kind of clean everything up. Everything's looking good, okay? Now, again, if it's out of shape, you can really kind of bend it back into the shape that you want it. Make sure you do that first before you come in with your jump rings, because once you kind of lock it into place with your jump rings, you're kind of stuck with it, okay? All right. Terry says she's never had a cup of coffee. Oh, Terry, how are you not in prison? I must have my coffee in the morning. Oh, or people do not survive the day. I'm just kidding. It's not that bad, but I definitely have a caffeine addiction, if you will. Okay, so now let's take a look at our finished earring. It's not weird, actually. My in-laws are not coffee drinkers, never have tasted coffee either. So there are people. Not everybody does coffee. I know. Okay, so the next thing we want to do is we're actually going to go ahead and work on our chain piece first, and then we're going to attach everything with our jump rings. The reason is because we need to do a little wire wrap down here to add our check glass bead to the bottom, and I want to do that first before I attach it to my component, just because the more wire working and things that I do, the more out of shape it's going to make my component. So I've got a little piece of chain here. My chain is the chevron chain. You don't have to have chevron chain. You can use whatever kind of chain you want to. Okay, it's got a ring at the top here, but then down here on the bottom, you can see it has a tiny little loop. Instead of adding another jump ring to this, I'm actually going to use this little loop and we're going to wire wrap directly to it. But first, we're going to make a knotted head pin. Wanda, what does that mean? It's knotted head pin alert. Ring the bell, say it in capital letters. We're going to make a knotted headpin. And I'm actually going to use my leftovers from my wire wrapping here. So we're going to use a piece of 24 gauge wire for this. So for those of you who've never seen the knotted headpin before, this is not normally the gauge of wire that I like to use for this, but because that's what I have on hand, the scraps, I'm going to use them up. I normally use 22 gauge wire to make a knotted headpin, but 24 is what we've got, so that's what we're going with. You're going to take the very end of that wire, and you want to use the very end of your round nose pliers, okay? And you want to roll all the way around the top of the pliers, and you can see I've come all the way around because now I can see that cut end of the wire. Okay, so I did it once. Now I'm going to do it a second time around, and this one's going to go directly underneath the first. And then you want to stop again where you see that flush cut in the wire. So you've made 2 coils around the very tip of your round nose pliers. Okay, now before you take this off of the pliers, you want to guide and bend the wire underneath those 2 coils coming out this direction. Okay, away from the tool and underneath the 2 wraps. Now you can take it off of the tool, and I actually need to trim off some of this because I have an excessive amount of wire here. Okay, now I'm going to take the tail end of my wire and I'm going to go back through the 2 coils that I made. So I'm actually looping it back through, and you've got this kind of little lasso shape, if you will. Okay, now you need your nylon jaw pliers for the next step. Do not do this without nylon jaw pliers. If you do and you pull this through regular pliers, you're going to strip off that nice coating on the outside of your wire. Grab the wire so that those 2 coils that you made are right up against right up against the nylon jaw pliers. I'm looking at the comments and I see myself. I drank way too much tea on my first trip to London, and I know that that's Kathy, but it still cracks me up that, like, yeah. So anyway, okay, grab the coils, make sure they're right up against the side there. And now grab that tail end of the wire that's coming out the other side and pull. Okay, and what you're going to do is you're going to pull a little knot into the end of your wire. It looks like a little rosette, just a little knot, and you've got yourself a headpin ready to go. So now I'm going to take my drop bead here, and I call it the drop bead not because it's drop shaped, but because it drops off of the chain here. So, you know, our little extra bead, if you will, my little disco ball. I'm going to drop that down onto our headpin, okay? And I'm going to create a wrapped loop, but I want to wire wrap this directly to my piece of chain. So I'm going to go ahead and get it started with our wrapped loop. So grabbing the wire right over the top of the bead, bend the wire. Okay, so you've got that space there. I'm going to come in with my round nose pliers, taking the wire up and over the top barrel of the pliers. I got to rotate the pliers out of the way so I can take the wire over to the other side. That's going to close up my loop. But before I do the wire wrap, I need to take the tail end of this wire and guide it through that tiny little hole on my chain. Now, if you're using just regular chain, just add a jump ring. You know, you don't have to do what I'm doing here, but I'm just going to wire wrap these directly to each other. So I'm just going to kind of snap them together just like so. Okay. Now I'm going to come in with my bent chain nose pliers so that I can hold on to that loop and bring that over here to my left hand so that I can kind of hold on to everything, keep the chain out of the way. And I'm going to do my wire wrap, and I'm going to do my double wire wrap. So I'm going to go down to the bead. Okay. Now I'm going to go back up over the wraps that I already made just to do an extra layer of the wraps. Kind of makes it a little thicker, like a little slouchy sock, right? Remember those from the 80s, 90s? Our little slouchy socks. All right. Now I'm going to come in with my cutter tool and I'm going to trim off the tail. And now my bead is directly attached to my chain piece, and I don't have to worry that a jump ring is going to come open or anything like that. It's all right there. Okay, now the last part of this is just putting things together. So we've got our ear wire and we have a couple of jump rings here. So let me just show you on the finished one where our jump rings are going to go. So I use two 4mm jump rings on either one of our loops. Okay, you can see those right there. And then our chain already has a jump ring on it. I'm using a 6mm jump ring to hook everything together and our ear wire. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take 2 pairs of pliers and I'm going to go ahead and attach my 4mm jump rings to either one of the loops. We'll open those up, attach them, and then go ahead and close them. So close each one of those back. Okay. Now I'm going to take my 6mm jump ring, and the first thing I'm going to add to this is our chain. So I'm going to add the jump ring on the top of our chain to that. And now I want to thread this also onto the little 4mm jump rings that we just added. So there's one for that side, and then you kind of have to bend everything around a little bit to hook it onto that one. Now before I close the jump ring, I'm going to go ahead and attach my ear wire, or you can add your ear wire after you already close the jump ring. But while I have it open, I'm just going to go ahead and attach it. Use my 2 pairs of pliers, close that back, and voila, we are done. There you go. Oh, somebody said something about kits. So these weren't kits. What I meant was that this finished pair of earrings, the earrings completely finished as a finished piece, were in the shop. I didn't make kits for these. I wish. I don't have enough Czech glass beads to make a bunch of kits for these. But man, they'd make awesome kits, wouldn't they? So there you go. Those are our earrings. And like I said at the beginning, you can definitely make them a little bit smaller, right? You start with a smaller component, take everything down a little bit, right? Or, you know, make it a pendant and add more dangles to it. I'm always, if it's going to be a pendant, I want to add more things hanging from it. No problem, Jackie. I probably wasn't super, I wasn't super clear in the beginning. So, all right, I'm going to turn you guys around. Donna, where can you get the chevron chains? What is the name of that place? If Kathleen, are you here? Kathleen knows the chain place. I never can remember the name of it. Best Beads. I did remember it. Best Beads, they have all of the coolest chains. So these are the same earrings, just in a different colorway. These are the ones that that everybody loves when I wear them. Everybody's like, oh, I love those earrings. So these are the first pair. This is the pair we just made. Same thing, just different colors. So I'll put this on. Did I make the ear wires? Yes, I did make the ear wires. Lisa says she found it on Amazon. Awesome. So now you can see 2 totally different colorways. This one over here is gold with purples and browns, and this one is the silver with that kind of minty turquoise, right? And this chevron chain is a little bit different because it has enamel on the tips. So there's an extra little pop of color to it. But yeah, there you go. I'll wear one of each. I'm not afraid. I'm a trend maker, right? Not really. Actually, I can't, because apparently I've sold these already. So I'm going to have to change out, put on a clean pair of ear wires, and ship these off to their new home, I'm guessing. All right, so I hope that you guys have enjoyed this project. It's an easy one, but it's a fun one that you can kind of, you know, alter to your own specifications, if you will, right? You can change up the beads, you can change up the sizes, you can change up the chain, like you can make all kinds of adjustments. The teardrop component is going to work on any of the levels of the mandrel tool. I have 2 of these, or I had 2 of these in the shop. They may have already sold, but if you're looking for an artistic wire mandrel tool, I Haven't checked the shop since we started. Had 2 of these in the shop. If you're interested in grabbing one of those. One of my favorite tools. So it was really cool that I had, you know, I had extras. All right, that's it for me for now. Those of you who are in Hardwired will be seeing me here in just about 2 hours, a little over 2 hours, for our weekly project there. The rest of you guys can catch me either tomorrow at 2 p.m. over on the Michaels website for a Michaels class, or you can catch me on Thursday at 1 p.m. at our regular time. Don't forget, Sam from Santa's Speed Shop is going to be here. It's going to be a lot of fun. Always a good time when Sam is here. All right. So have a wonderful rest of the afternoon, and I will see you guys again very soon. Bye.